Jamel President grew up less than a mile from the College of Charleston and graduated from Burke High School. He was as hard-nosed and spirited as any player I have ever coached. On the defensive end, he always guarded our opponent's best scorer. His jump shot was picture perfect, and he iced many games with his foul shots. In fact, in his senior year, he ranked 4th nationally from the foul stripe. He played in the backcourt with Anthony Johnson, and they made a magnificent duo. In an NCAA game against Stanford at the United Center in Chicago, Jamel was voted Chevrolet Player of the Game. After graduation from the college, Jamel has given so much back to the community. He presents to youngsters seminars in SAT taking and academics, and conducts clinics and camps teaching the ABCs of basketball. He is also president and CEO of the DAE Foundation. Jamel, congratulations, and a big thanks for your contributions and the role model you have become for the youth of Charleston.
President Benson.
DAE TV Family Life.
Sunday Spotlight. We're here with Dr. Kevin Ray. Kevin, can you introduce yourself and tell us about Ahmad classification and whatnot?
Okay. My name is Kevin Ray. I'm Ahmad Ray's father. Ahmad is the 11th grader at Pinewood Prep. We plays basketball there. We've been training with the President Productions and the DAE Foundation for the past 2.5 to 3 years.
Now, we just had the video session earlier. So right now we're stagnant with getting Ahmad to really carry throughout the training regimen and apply things on the court. And where we're at now is just the mental aspect. Can you explain to the audience what we're doing, how we're doing, and where we're at from a parent standpoint? Because I'm pretty sure this is common that goes on.
Very. Actually, watching your child train and be very good at training. And then when you don't see those things translate to the game, you wonder, well, what's going on? Why is this not happening? Where's the block going? So me, what I've oftentimes done is when I see something wrong, I immediately get on the phone, I'll call you and say, hey man, listen, I don't know what's going on. I did this or that. And you'll say, well, hey, let's look at the video. And that brought us to kind of what we did today. Being able to sit down, go through the video and see exactly what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, where are areas in which he can improve. Back to being a former student athlete, I've always been taught that the eye in the sky don't lie. So basically, when you see a video, you're able to really have a fair and unbiased assessment of yourself to hopefully improve your game.
When you're training, it's going to be ups and downs, and right now we're at that point where we're trying to really get him to, we know the problem, moving more, something we're working on that. So Kev, tell us to the audience about our training, our in-house, our training regimen, our approach, and how it differentiates from things that you've seen before.
That's a very good question. How's it different? I've seen a lot of different aspects of training, from my own personal training in football to other student athletes training for basketball and various sports. And no one's really assessing the mental aspect, that being a student of the game. Today's student athlete is totally different than when you and I even played. The difference is the mental aspect of the game. Do you understand those little nuances that occur, like what's the distance of a basketball court? When you played, when I played, we didn't care about the distance, we just ran fast. Right. Which is probably just as big, in my opinion, probably bigger, because I believe in any training, 80% of what is being done is mental. The other 20% is the physical aspects.
Right. And I think you listed some benefits in your explanation right then. Can you pull those out and just tell the audience it's 3 benefits that you think that being training with DAE thus far?
3 benefits. One, I said that basketball IQ, increasing that IQ tremendously. Obviously, the skill components, the dribbling, the shooting. Ahmad is kind of a shooter. That's kind of what he's naturally done. So being able to refine his ability to shoot, as we discovered just in our video session today, talking about the difference between being a scorer and being a shooter. He totally understands that now.
That concludes our Sunday Spotlight. Dr. Ray, we thank you for your time and look forward to working with you in the future.
DAE TV Family Life.
time he's speaking out since the gubernatorial election in November. And in this special edition of Quentin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with Senator Vincent Shaheen. Shaheen, let's begin with the obvious. Today is Inauguration Day here in South Carolina. Tell me, where are you emotionally?
Everything is great. You know, I plan to go to the inauguration.
Yeah.
Drop my son off at school this morning. We'll be back there this afternoon to pick him up. It is a little surreal to think we'll have had Mark Sanford and Nikki Haley for, 16 years, but the motto in South Carolina is, while I breathe, I hope. So yeah. I always think that things are good.
And let's talk about the time back in November when you actually lost to Nikki Haley. What was that like for you?
Well, it's never any fun to lose, but it was an incredibly enjoyable campaign. I got to meet thousands of people in South Carolina who really wanted change, but change is very hard in a state like South Carolina. I knew that getting into it, okay. But I think it was well worth it to be able to advance the issues like 4-year-old kindergarten, like reforming state government, and drawing attention to the fact that kids were literally dying at the Department of Social Services under this administration. Those things need to be exposed and talked about, and we need to make progress. And that's the point.
And you talk about the DSS situation. As we sit here right now, what do you want to see happen next?
Well, what we really need to have is that this administration take responsibility for what's going on in the Department of Social Services and appoint the most qualified person in America to run that agency and get it into shape and restore confidence with the employees, to allow there to be a free dialogue of employees who work there instead of the fear and intimidation that we've seen over the last 4 years. So number one is getting the most qualified person. Number two is to recreate what should be in every state agency, which is an agency that has openness and accountability and transparency that we've been lacking.
And you talk about the DSS situation. Since this is 2015, that is, what else do you want to see accomplished?
Well, my strongest goals this year are to advance 4-year-old kindergarten across South Carolina. You know, we're behind Georgia, we're behind North Carolina. Sure. We made great strides over Governor Haley's objections the last 2 years. It's important we finish that, and I'll be rallying my colleagues to make sure that we have 4-year-old kindergarten across South Carolina. I would like to see us invest in our rural roads.
Okay.
They're falling apart.
Yes.
We haven't seen any action in the last decade. I would like us to see leadership at the top to fix those roads. And then, of course, we've seen declining incomes for South Carolinians for the last 5 years. We have to turn that around. That means investing in education and higher education. It also means believing in our own businesses, not just those we recruit from out of state, but helping small business people across South Carolina.
And you talk about education. Let's talk about President Obama's initiative to really allow people to go to community colleges really for free. I am wondering, what's your take on that, and how would you allow that to happen in South Carolina?
I absolutely think it's an incredible idea. We ought to allow and encourage people to get as much higher education as they can. Often that means technical training. It might mean being a master bricklayer, an electrician, jobs that pay really good wages. It might mean going into a mechatronics course that will lead to a job in an industry, an advanced industry. In South Carolina, what we have to do is quit disinvesting in higher education, which we've seen under this administration and the Sanford administration. And as we see budget surpluses, we need to begin to plow those into our higher education institutions and make sure that especially those 2-year colleges are affordable to our citizens.
And let's talk about your future. Obviously, you did not become governor of South Carolina. Tell me this, what's next for you?
Well, the wonderful life I lead is next. So I'm in the state Senate fighting these battles.
Right.
I am in my small law practice in Camden, where I represent businesses and individuals every day. And I am able to spend a lot more time with my family, which is wonderful. So life is great.
And speaking of family, let's talk about them. How are they doing right now?
They're great. Thanks for asking. My twins are at Clemson University, freshmen. They are in those sciences. One's in engineering and one's in biological sciences. And my son Anthony is in 8th grade. I dropped him off at school on the way. He had 2 instruments with him. He is into the band, and he's begun to play the violin as well. So I'm extremely excited about all that they're doing and proud.
And do you think they will take the political path that you have taken?
You know, you never know. I think that growing up with a dad who's been in the State House and the Senate for most of their childhood probably has at least opened their eyes to how important it is. But there are many ways to serve, whether they serve in elected office or by supporting candidates or by volunteering in the community. Their mother and I will be proud of no matter what they do.
And do we see another Governor Shaheen coming soon as far as running for governor?
I don't see that in the cards.
Okay.
You know, I think I've carried the torch of change for the last really 5 years in South Carolina, and I'm ready to hand that torch off to somebody else. It's important, though, that we don't let it go out. You know, we can't continue to do what we've been doing over the last 16 years and think that anything's going to change or the state's going to get better. We have to have new leadership, and I'm glad that I was able to advance those ideas over the last 5 years. Although we weren't successful in the election, we certainly made changes in the state. But it's important for others to pick up that torch and run with it and hold it high.
And speaking of election, do you think that whole YouTube clip that went viral really sank your election?
I think we know Democrats across America got beaten in historic proportions.
Okay.
I think a race was very nationalized, and unfortunately, on the national level, Democrats were not popular with the majority of voters. So what happened in South Carolina is the same thing that happened in Georgia, the same thing that happened in Arkansas, the same thing that happened in Maryland, and the numbers were pretty much the same. Sometimes you're in control of your own destiny,
right.
Sometimes you're not. This just happened to be one of those years where the national narrative really was dominant.
Yeah. Well, Senator Vincent Shaheen, this was so great talking to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was good to be with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
DAE TV Family Life.
We tend to take our feet for granted. Day after day, the 26 bones in each foot do their duty. But sometimes those bones, along with the muscles, nerves, ligaments, blood vessels, and skin that comprise our feet, need some attention. That's when it's time to march into the office of a podiatrist. Podiatrists are doctors who specialize in the care and treatment of feet. They treat everything from bothersome corns and calluses to fractures and infections related to diabetes. As a medical doctor, a podiatrist can prescribe medication, order x-rays and lab tests, apply treatment, or, with certification, perform surgery. They may fit corrective inserts, design plaster casts and strapping to correct deformities, and design custom-made shoes. Heading toward this career means taking pre-med classes in college, followed by the medical college admission test, then podiatric medical school, and after that, in most states, a hospital residency program. Once licensed, many podiatrists have their own offices or join a physician's group. Certification is also available for specialties such as orthopedics, primary medicine, or surgery. Some develop subspecialties such as sports medicine, treating the injuries of athletes, ballerinas, and everyday joggers. In every case, it helps to have good personal skills as well as a medical degree. Patients rely on podiatrists to keep them on their feet.
Welcome to the Foot Institute. This is where we check in. Wilmer, she checks patients in, get them ready, prepared for their treatments in the back. All right.
So James?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
How you doing? All right, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is the treatment area. Essentially, this is room number 1 here. In the treatment rooms, we perform all different types of treatments, anything from cutting toenails to evaluations for flat feet, something that athletes actually have a lot of. So we pay attention to all of those details and perform a complete evaluation in our treatment rooms. We have several treatment rooms here. As we come down the hall here, we go into our diagnostic room. In our diagnostic room, this is actually where we perform ancillary testing, things such as x-ray machine. We have a fluoroscopy here. This machine actually shows us all the bones in the feet and ankle so that we're able to evaluate the bone structure, evaluate the structure of the foot to make sure everything is working in a normal or near normal fashion. All of this is digital. This is an ultrasound machine. This ultrasound machine allows us to look at soft tissue structures of the feet. So we're able to look at bone and soft tissue. Oftentimes athletes, they have ankle sprains or different types of sprains of the foot that involves ligaments and tendons. Those ligaments and tendons can be seen on this ultrasound machine. So anytime there's an issue, we bring our patients back here to the diagnostic room and perform these specific tests in order to come up with a treatment plan to help facilitate them and rehab them and get them back to their athletic games or field or whatever the case may be. Okay. How you doing? Need some help?
I need somebody to just down me.
Put the chair down?
You doing all right?
Yeah, you doing okay?
Doing pretty good.
Huh?
You didn't cut make your hair, right?
They didn't cut your toenails?
Make your
They already cut it? Slide this way here. Hold on. Oh, bring the wheelchair around here like this. I'll turn around. Got it? Alright, come on over here.
Turn around, Mom. Turn around. Turn around.
There we go.
Put your teeth up.
Alright.
Thank you so much.
Now you can back out of here. You're welcome.
You have a
There we
good
go.
day now.
You do the same.
All right.
When you enter the store, what you'll find is our store is divided on two sides. Here on the left-hand side of the store, we have all of our performance running shoes. This is a run specialty store, but we do a lot more than just run specialty. We have a custom fit process where we actually measure length, width, height of the feet. We actually perform a gait analysis. We have a track in the store, and we'll kind of show that on this tour. But on the left-hand side of the store are all of our performance shoes. These are for the high-end runners and those individuals that have been running for an extended period of time that would like to improve their speed or improve their distance. So we have several different brands here. Newton, Hoka, Ultra being some of the top running shoes in the market. Essentially, these particular shoes, Newton, Hoka, Ultra, are some of the top running shoes in the market.
Feet are probably the most neglected area of all the bones and joints in our bodies. Even though everywhere you look, they are constantly at work. But are they working normally in optimal health and with great efficiency? Or are they just working harder and breaking down as time goes on? Feet are complex, with 26 bones, 33 joints, and many ligaments and muscles. Though researchers struggle to obtain comprehensive and accurate data on foot motion, the main functional elements are well understood. Feet function in two main but opposite states. One is soft and adaptive. During pronation, the foot adapts to uneven terrain by loosening its structure and yielding to the shape of the surface. This was probably an important function a long time ago, when we walked barefoot on the ground. Now we only need a small amount of pronation to function in shoes and on flat, hard surfaces. The second state is more rigid, also known as supination. The foot must regain a firm, functional arch to become an efficiently rigid mechanical lever for forward progression. Both of these states are determined by the height of the main arch of the foot. A flattened arch with pronation gives adaptation or a loosening of foot structure. A raised arch with supination gives the foot rigidity and stability. Most people have too much pronation and flexibility, some in childhood and some as they age. This is what one would expect, considering the combined effects of gravity, increasing body weight, sedentary living, and the concrete floors of modern life. The ligaments under the arch become overstretched and slack. The muscles are either too weak or develop overuse conditions, such as tendinitis. Over time, the arches just keep getting flattened, closer and closer to the ground. And the lower they go, the less likely they are coming back up. Just as you might expect, things fall down, not up. A foot with too much pronation and arch flattening must compensate for the lack of a good arch in a number of different ways. One thing all these ways have in common, however, is that they all lead to deformity, pain, or both. You might have heard that a bunion comes from wearing tight, pointed shoes, but the truth is, it comes from a fallen arch. So the question facing most foot health specialists when evaluating their patient's problem feet is, what is the best way to bring the arch back and regain healthy foot function? Since normal function is the key to pain-free bone and joint health. And how do we prevent all the surgery that becomes necessary at some point if we do nothing? Most foot health specialists recommend a good functional biomechanical orthotic for help. But the many different kinds of orthotics and their various claims of results can be confusing. Many specialists have also been discouraged by the lack of results achieved for their patients.
DAE TV, find out life.
Relatively new brand of running shoes, but essentially they have defined or redefined the science of running shoes and cushioning and control. When we look at running shoes, we look at two main types. We look at motion control and we look at cushioning. And based on your foot type, we actually fit you for a specific shoe. On the right hand side of the store, we have all of our traditional running shoes, Asics, Brooks. Those shoes that are tried and true that have been in the market for many, many years. A lot of high-end runners swear by these brands of shoes. We still fit individuals with those shoes, which actually help to improve distance and speed as well, depending on the person's running form. Store North is that we have the ability to evaluate your running form, your running style. That actually helps. We have a track here. We're the only store in Charleston that actually has a functional track. We're able to record you running. Other than that, what we tend to do here in the store, what we have in the store, is all the accessories that you would need in order to complete your running attire. Shirts, we have some of the apparel like running shirts, tights, socks, obviously. These are all different aspects of your run gear that you will need to be able to efficiently and effectively run. We have a full line of insoles, which makes a huge difference in how your foot functions in your shoe. Oftentimes we get asked, well, why can't I go to Walmart and buy the Dr. Scholl's brand? Why just stand on that machine and get an insole? Well, the problem with that is that machine doesn't have a personal touch. Here, our staff is trained to evaluate your feet. They understand feet. They understand feet pathology in order to properly fit you with the right insole. If you don't have the right insole, it can be more harm than good. So oftentimes, it's much better to go into a store or into a medical facility in order to purchase those insoles from someone that's knowledgeable about your feet. Being here in Charleston, we're one of the beach capitals of the Southeast. We have a lot of beach goers, and during the summer we have clients that come in and pretty much wear sandals all year long. But oftentimes sandals are looked at as a very poor quality shoe. From a medical perspective, as a physician, we don't want our patients wearing sandals. Now that's not the case. We actually have brands of sandals, Chaco being one of them, that provides adequate support to your arch, adequate cushioning for your feet, so you're able to wear these comfortably and avoid injury from long-term sandal wear. So we provide a series of sandals for those individuals that would like to wear these sandals when they're not participating in an active lifestyle.
If you notice your foot, Mr. George, look down at your foot for me. See how you have this nice curve that goes here from your heel all the way out to your pinky toe? This shoe here is an ASIC. See how that has that nice curve that goes like that for you? So that's why I picked the ASIC brand. If you look at the Brooks, see how it has this nice straight edge from the heel all the way to the pinky? And your toe doesn't have that. So that's why we're going to stay away from this shoe, and we're going to go more in a brand.
That's an Ultra?
No, this is actually a Brooks. Now, I can show you the Ultra shoe is similar. The shoe that I think that we probably go with is probably this one here. It's just the more rigid, but it does have that straighter last to it, but the thing about the Ultra is see how it has these big toe splay here, this nice big toe box? That's what your toes are asking for when they're curling up like that and they're being kind of stiff and rigid here like this and they're not able to relax. It's because you're holding on to that shoe, or your toes have done that in the past, and that's why they're in the shoe, maybe causing you a little bit of problems now because you're walking on those tips rather than on the foot. So this is an Ultra brand. I'll let you try on a shoe like this. Feel how rigid that shoe is. See how it's hard to bend? That's what we want because of that pronation. This shoe will help support that pronation. Remember the position that I had you in? You felt that little arch? That's what we're going to go for. But I think the ASICS is going to give you more density in the area you need here in that area that's pronating.
Square toed is.
That's right, but it does have a nice wide toe box. That's what makes this real nice. The shape, remember the shape of your foot here? And we're going to cater to this little guy here. See these two little bunions maybe giving you a little bit of problem, rubbing sometimes? That's going to take away from that because it's going to give you that room in the toe box. All right?
The issue that we see is that we're getting more older people. We're wanting more young runners because young runners tend to be more injury prone. We see in high school, we see tons and tons and tons. In the medical practice, we see tons of high school athletes come in with shin splints. The vast majority of the shin splints come from the fact that they have improperly fitting shoes. Improperly fitting shoes in the sense of their arch is not being supported, the shoes are too small. So there's a number of factors that play into improperly fitting shoes. So redefining how patients or our customers are fitted with shoes is a huge thing that we're trying to accomplish here.
between this one and the one that you're in now is that this one's got a little bit more depth to it. And since your arch has fallen some, this one might feel better on your arch.
What size is this, 10?
This is a 12.
A 12?
Mm-hmm. You were an 11 and a half, but your arch has dropped some. So it's elongating your foot. I fluctuate between an 8.5 and a 9.5 shoe when it comes to running shoes. I'm going to check it when you stand up. When you stand, you slide forward a little bit in the shoe, so you can't really tell when you're sitting down.
If we look at the orthotics of the past versus the new technology available today, though, we can see why foot health specialists are now enthusiastic about using orthotics to avoid the full range of foot, knee, hip, and low back problems that come from flattened arches. What most people do not realize is that the vast majority of devices sold as so-called custom orthotics are stock items stamped out of a mold that have no resemblance to the unique three-dimensional shape of your feet. But just look at 10 people standing barefoot and you will see 10 different sizes and foot shapes. All feet are different, therefore the orthotic needs to match those differences. Most importantly, a different arch height and three-dimensional shape for each foot is needed in order to get the right amount of correction that can make your feet function normally. The reality is that a truly custom orthotic costs a lot more to produce. First, your specialist must perform a skilled casting of your foot. This requires advanced training and experience. Many providers might have you simply walk across a pressure plate instead of taking a detailed cast. But there is no way that walking across a plate can capture the corrected three-dimensional posture of your unique foot that can only come from a good cast from trained hands. The pressure plates are popular, though, because the provider requires no skill or training, and the patient likes the colored footprint display it makes on the computer. Companies that make orthotics love it, too, because they can just stamp out another non-custom device at a much lower cost. All the one-dimensional pressure plate told them was the gross size of your foot. They have to guess at everything else. If you were to look at a flat-footed person standing first on the floor and then on one of these stamped-out typical flat orthotics, you would notice no change to the patient's foot posture. The arch would be just as flat, and therefore the foot would function the same with too much pronation. This is because one-size-fits-all orthotics cannot cradle your arch at the height and shape it needs to be. Without the best arch support for your foot, the arch will just collapse as usual. A collapsed arch causes the foot to function abnormally when the heel leaves the ground. The foot is too flexible and cannot work efficiently. This abnormal function creates stresses and strains to joints and connective tissue that ultimately cause some of the most common pains and deformities afflicting the foot, leg, and spine. Conditions such as plantar fasciitis, bunion, metatarsalgia, Morton's neuroma, arthritis of the great toe, knee and low back pain can all be traced to a collapsing arch of the foot.
DAE TV Family Life.
No one's wearing high-top basketball sneakers anymore. So if no one's wearing high-top basketball sneakers and everyone's wearing three-quarter to low-cut basketball sneakers, and that's the trend, okay, then how are we protecting these students or these student athletes from injury? We're not. And a large way of doing that is by providing adequate insoles. If they have adequate insoles, number one, it's going to be a shock absorber. So when they're jumping throughout a basketball game, well, it's going to absorb a lot of the shock. So that's going to reduce a lot of the stress that's on their feet and on their legs. Okay. When it comes to ankle sprains, there's a group of that says, well, we should wear ankle braces. There's a group that says we shouldn't. But when high school basketball coaches or high school trainers get this information and they see one group saying yes and one group saying no, then they're confused. And then that's where the medical professional comes in. So the question is, does ankle braces prevent ankle sprains? The answer to the question is no. But what it does, it reduces the severity of those sprains. So long story short, if we have high school athletes that are wearing low-cut basketball sneakers, it would be my professional recommendation that you do wear an ankle brace and also an insole, one, to help reduce the shock, and two, help reduce the severity of the ankle sprain, because what we do know is we do know that over the course of a basketball season, every single basketball player is going to experience 2 to 3 episodes where they have sprained their ankle. And that's the science behind it.
That's a specialty item that,
What's that,
like, dicks and stuff can't get, is the DAE. That's this guy.
The massager.
The gear roller, Doc.
The gear roller.
So this is, each one of these implements a finger or hand of a therapist. The skin actually lifts the fascia when it's moving over you. This is actually implements like a pinpoint precision, like an elbow of a therapist. You go in, break up the fascia with the 15 rolls, find a knot in the muscle, and then you work it out, and then you go and roll it out again.
And they're different pressures.
Yep. And then like this one doesn't have the skin on it, so it doesn't give that fascia lift.
Gotcha.
But it does give each one of these are supposedly open up just for like the spine, because this one's the C. This one's not the C, this is the Ultra. So this is all a back roller. So you do it, see how it's like opens up for the spine?
Gotcha.
On all the different parts. And then there's just different techniques on how to use it. But these guys, between the J, the Junior, and the C, that's key stuff right there. Because they don't sell them in big box stores. You have to be,
In a run specialty store.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So that's cool stuff for us. But the foot pressure board, so you stand on it 15 seconds. It changes temperature. Then you use the key basically to decide
where your pressures are.
Right, because so it's basically your map. So you step here, you want one of these footprints, so you pick A, B, D, or C. You step back, look at your customer. So. And then it goes, so I would be between a B and a C. And then you step back and you look at their legs. And then you decide like B1, and you go into B1, you try on, so it shows you B1 is a blue for a more neutral foot. And then from B1, you typically go B1 and like I would try on this orange and the blue for my foot. And whichever one felt more natural is the one that I would go for. This is only used for the Curex sole because the Curex is a moving insert. So and I'm a B1. I'm the blue.
What athletes have done especially amateur athletes, what amateur athletes have done is that they have invested time and money into other equipment. Football players invest money into their helmets. Basketball players invest money into their knee pads, different things like that. But they're not investing the same kind of interest into their shoes. And so what we're trying to do for athletes is we're really trying to get them to understand and realize that your shoes is probably the single biggest key piece of equipment that you have. So that education is lacking. So as a medical professional, that's what I'm trying to articulate to a lot of the athletes, that, hey, listen, guys, you need to make sure that your shoes are properly fitted. We don't sell basketball shoes in here. We don't sell track cleats or spikes in here. But what we do have is we have the ability to evaluate those individuals' feet, and if they need something like one of these insoles to supplement their shoe, then they'll get much more efficient use out of those shoes. And that's a huge issue that I see, especially in high school athletes and then in other amateur athletes as well.